Hi. Earlier this week, a friend of mine sent me the newsletter from a special collection at the New York University on labor law. And it had to do with the commemoration next week of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire in Manhattan. I got curious about it. I started looking at the library's collections, and I felt the shock of recognition. For in the collections, I saw that of the National Council of American Soviet Friendship. That council was formed probably in the 1930s under another name, and during World War II, it served to try to unite Russians and Americans in a common cause against the fascist enemy. Well, we all know how that worked out. By 1946, the House Un-American Activities Committee was investigating the council, and it was later indicted. And it stumbled along for another 40 years or so and finally bit the dust in 1991, at the same time that the Soviet Union itself was swept into the dustbin of history. Of course, the Stalinist mindset is now in full bloom on U.S. college campuses, so all was not lost when the Soviet Union ended. Maybe that's what Nikita Khrushchev had in mind when he said, "We will bury you." In fact, Americans are now burying themselves. But I'm not here to talk about politics. No, I'm going to talk about how the council helped me realize a long-term dream of mine, which was to study the Russian language. The roots of that are way too long, but I had kind of tinkered around with Russian for a long time. I almost took it at Princeton, which had a great Russian program, but I got cold feet because it was so difficult, and I studied Spanish, which was a fine choice anyway. Once I lived in New York, I got this Barnes & Noble book on how to learn Russian. And I read it on the subway so much it finally fell apart. This is a second version of the same book that I have. But even as I was studying Russian on the subway, I was seeing ads on the back page of the Village Voice and the Classifieds by the National Council of American Soviet Friendship offering Russian classes. And I was kind of tempted to take it. But, this is in the early 1980s, the Cold War. And I was a little concerned that, I would wind up on an FBI list of people that were hanging out with the Reds. So I didn't do that. The most radical, subversive thing I did was buy the English language newspaper, Moscow News, at a newsstand on West 42nd Street. But by the mid to later 1980s, the Soviet Union was changing. Mikhail Gorbachev brought his policies of glasnost and perestroika to the Soviet Union, and it became a more recognizable place, a little more open to ideas. And I decided that there was time to throw caution to the wind and sign up for a class that the council offered. So I indeed did that, and I started taking a beginner's class at the what's called Ukrainskaya Dome, or Ukrainian House in the East Village. The teacher was the wife of a Soviet official from the UN. I don't really know what he was doing there, but maybe a trade official. And I started taking the class, and it was challenging from the very start. Russian is written with the Cyrillic alphabet, which is closer to Greek than the Roman alphabet, so I had to learn a lot of new letters. The sounds are very different, and there are not very many cognates with English. There's some, you can kind of make it out, but it's not like, say, German or Romance languages. So that was challenging. And then once you get into the grammar of it, it's like mind cracking. English is not a declined language. A word is a word, but in Russian, the words change according to the case. So I can still remember them. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, instrumental, and prepositional. Words are changing depending on how they're used. So then you've got perfective verbs, imperfective verbs. You got hard sounds, soft sounds. You got words that are 30 or 40 letters long. And then pronunciation is very difficult. It can be. One time in class, I was trying to say the phrase crime and punishment, and I bobbled it a little bit. And the teacher started laughing in kind of her apple-cheeked, merry Russian way and said I had mispronounced it. What I'd actually said was crime and execution, which must be a real knee slapper in Russian. But the class was really valuable. Um, I got this dictionary in 1987 to take on a class, a tour I took with a couple of college friends to the USSR. And we were really curious about the place and had a great time, saw a lot. And I came home with a lot of Soviet constructivist art posters, which is a kind of art I really enjoy. So since then, I took Russian some more in the early 90s at New York University School of Continuing Ed and moved on to other languages, but still Russian has made a real impact on me. I like watching Russian series on Netflix and Amazon. I look for Russian artwork, books at sales. I can at least read the covers of them. And it's just kind of an opening into another world if you can speak another language. A couple of years ago, I was in Israel, which had a big influx of Russians in the 1980s, and they spend a lot of them work in kind of menial jobs like checkers at museums and libraries and places. And I was at a museum, turning my coat, backpack, and I could tell from the accent the woman was Russian, Ukrainian. And so I said a couple of words to her in Russian, and she really appreciated it. It can create an instant bond with people. What else have I done with Russian? Well, I have used the phrase "Smert spionum," death to spies, as a computer password. That's the source of the organization Smersh in James Bond novels. I doodle in Russian, "Я не знаю," which means I don't know, or "Я говорю по-русски язык." I can speak the Russian language. It just keeps kind of going. I banter with a few Russian phrases with Russian barbers in New York and Katona, and they get a big kick out of that. I can pick up on a little bit of what they're saying when I hear them speaking Russian. So that's kind of it. I appreciate the opportunity to do it. So I would like to say to the National Council of American-Soviet Friendship, whatever your politics were, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. Wherever you are now, my dear teacher, Olga, wherever, all I can say is, Очень спасибо, товарища. Thank you, wherever you are.